Okay, up next we have Ashley Petrylak. She's the Senior Editor for Science and Medicine Journals at Oxford University Press. And Ashley joined OUP in 2011 after setting her sights on a role that would allow her to work more closely with academic societies. So at OUP, she's responsible for journals acquisitions in medicine and science, and she also manages a small portfolio of journals. And prior to joining the OUP team, she headed up the Clinical Medicine Journal division at Informa Healthcare. And she also worked as a lab manager, and a technician, so she's published or contributed to research papers and from New York University. So she's been on both sides of the fence. So thank you.
Thank you, Victoria, and thank you for inviting me to speak. This is a great opportunity. It's my first SSP meeting, so I'm having a great time so far. So I know this is part of the kind of career development or business development track, and so I wanted to focus my presentation a little bit more to the early career editorial individual. And as I was coming up in publishing, I began to realize the importance as I advanced in the field that I really needed to start to add a value to my business. So I needed to essentially bring in business. That's how I was going to further my career and be really integral part of the company. So in the next 10 minutes or so, my presentation is really focused towards giving you an overview of how I think that we can effectively grow a company's business by partnering with academic societies and publishing their journals and growing those relationships in the long term. So first I wanted to give just a brief overview of the market, and a lot of this information is from the new STM report that just came out from Mark Ware. The STM market is a huge industry. It's a $10 billion industry, and that was back in 2013. So this is even higher now. And it's been estimated that there's almost 700 major publishers publishing almost 12,000 journals, and that's estimated to be only half of about the total journals market that's out there. And of those 12,000 journals, only about 20% of them are distinguished as nonprofit journals, which I couldn't find any figures on how many journals are actually owned by external or academic societies, but I'm estimating that it's probably between 2,000 and 5,000. So the market and the competitive nature of publishers who want to work with these society partners, it is quite a tight market. And so I've put up the 10 largest publishers there, which I'm sure all those names are pretty familiar to you, by the number of journals they publish. So it is pretty competitive. Just a little bit about OUP. Our portfolio includes a little over 360 journals, and we publish in the humanities, social sciences, science, and medicine. And mostly unique to OUP, or at least amongst larger publishers, is that 65% of our titles are not owned by OUP. They're published on behalf of academic societies. So it's a business that we know quite intimately. And our portfolio growth has been about 4 to 5% each year since 2010. And this is just considering journal acquisitions or journal takeovers from other publishers or societies moving to OUP from being self-published. So I feel it's a business model that OUP is quite competent at. So a lot of the information in the presentation will speak to that. So the more I thought about the acquisitions process, maybe I was a little immature in thinking this, but it was kind of like dating. And it was this like dating market that you really wanted to find like your perfect partner. And which I don't know, may seem a little bit informal in a way, but so I'm gonna take that track throughout the presentation. And the first stage of that, kind of as we look for a relationship with a potential society partner, is we need to define an acquisition strategy. If you don't know what you want as a company or as an individual doing acquisitions, you're never going to get anything. And obviously all of our time is really important, so we want to make sure that we're focusing our efforts on effective methods in targeting potential partners that really fit with your own organization's mission and your own organization's strategy. So make sure those things align. Just an example of how OUP does this. OUP's approval process for new publishing projects is a two-pronged process. So one process is a financial track, and so we have financial targets that I'm sure most people are familiar with, you have to hit. The other approval process is a focus on quality. And so OUP actually has a board of academic delegates who are experts in their respective fields, and they evaluate every single project that comes into the press for the impact that it would make on the field, the necessity of the project in the field, the standing of that journal in the field or that database product. So it gives us a standard by which to make our acquisitions decisions. So obviously not every publisher is like that, but just as an example. Other things that we include also in setting our acquisition strategy is subject area. So is a journal in a field that you're already competent in, you have a lot of products that would potentially compete with a new journal or would perhaps supplement a journal. You would also want to look, like I said, at financial targets, and then also ownership status of a journal. There's no point in setting your sights on a journal maybe that is owned by a competing publisher, but if there's a journal that you know is kind of jumped from publisher to publisher in the last couple of decades, maybe they're ready for a change, and maybe that the proper home is with your company. Okay, so once you've defined your strategy, you want to start building your hit list or your list of potential clients. And I'm sure this is not going to come as a surprise to anyone, but it's really important to use effective networking techniques to go out to your clients, introduce yourself to your clients, and show them that you want to get to know them better and you want to understand their needs and what they're looking for in a prospective partner. And so using strategies like sending out personalized emails, not those generic emails that everyone just puts in their delete box. Joining the associations that you're interested in partnering with is obviously a really important way or a really impactful way to show a society that you're interested in working with them. Messaging people on LinkedIn, but not just sending them an invite, but actually taking the time to write a couple of sentences if you are connecting with an executive director as to why you're connecting with them. Do you want to get to know them? So explain, why their journals are exciting to you or why you think that it would be a great connection for them to make. And also maintaining positive relationships with publishing consultants is really important because a lot of larger societies, especially in science and medicine, work with consultants to help kind of broker the relationship with multiple publishers. So maintaining good relationships with those coming to events like SSP, always showing that you're a communicative individual and that you're valuing the quality of work that you put into your proposals. Things like that is important. And so the hope is that when one of the people on your hit list is ready to evaluate their publishing options, that they're going to think of you first, right? And that they're going to send a request for proposal to you. And hopefully you can receive that request. So then you get to make the proposal. And I have to say, this is something that I've learned from some hard lessons from experience. It's important not to talk about yourself throughout the entire proposal. My first proposal, which thankfully was not with Oxford, that I made to a society, I went back and read it a couple years later, and it was essentially a laundry list of everything my company did. You could have literally just read it on the website, and it showed no effort on my part to get to know the society or to show them why I was a great partner for them. And so that's something that I think is really important, that societies obviously have a choice of so many publishers, 700 publishers. So you need to take the effort to allow them to see why you're the right fit for them. And detail all the benefits that they can gain from partnering with you. And realizing this, that you can't be everything to everyone. So I think Diana's presentation spoke to this really nicely, is that there are certain presses or publishers that are just made for certain societies, and some that just really aren't going to work out for whatever reason. These are a couple. I won't go through all of them. But there really does need to kind of be a meeting of the minds and an alignment. So things like mission, certain publishers are obviously more risk takers and others are more conservative. So you want to make sure that matches with the society's expectations as well. Some journals run on incredibly complex or workflows that have a lot of back and forth in them, and that may not be fulfilled by a publisher that likes to streamline things a lot. Future strategy is obviously important. Things like science and medicine move a lot more quickly than humanities and social science. So you want to make sure that our expectations are clarified with the society. And this is really just to say that you're not going to win every bid, but if you do, I think, take your time in creating that hit list and getting to know the clients and what their expectations are, that you'll really increase your chances of success and all that effort you put into the proposals, because you'll already hopefully understand most of these things about your societies, and understand that you really can fulfill these needs that they have. Okay. And then once you hopefully win your bid for the society's business, just like any relationship, you need to put work into it to strengthen it and make sure that it's productive. And so I wanted to go through a couple of aspects of what I think are really important in creating these productive and strong relationships. And the first is tailored service, which I've illustrated. This lovely picture that you're all probably wondering, what on earth is this? One of the reasons I love working at OUP is because they really value all of their employees cultivating really strong relationships with all of our journal clients. And so this is a picture of our production editors for the journal Poultry Science. And every year in our Cary office, the production editors dress up as their favorite journal title. So these ladies are dressed up as poultry scientists, as you can probably see from the lab coats. And this just speaks, this tailored service just speaks to the fact that I think it's really important to understand that we can't fit all of our clients into a mold. They're not all going to behave exactly as we want them to. Our editors are always going to be difficult. And so sometimes we need to bend to allow them to express what's important to them. So just maybe a more practical example than dressing up like a poultry scientist would be that, if you are an East Coast-based individual and you have a client who's working in Europe, maybe you come into your office, start your office hours 2 or 3 hours early so that you're accommodating your client's need for meetings in the first part of their day rather than making them always meet with you at 4 and 5 o'clock at night. So just something like that helps your client feel respected and that you really want to be working for them. The second, advocacy. At OUP, as acquisitions editors, we stay with our clients from the acquisitions process all the way through to the end of the contract period, and hopefully beyond that if we renew. So it really allows us as acquisitions editors to understand the client's needs and their society strategy. And so oftentimes we're responsible for communicating that within the company. So we're responsible for communicating that to production, to marketing, to sales, but then also making sure that each of those departments are having good cross-communication amongst one another so that the entire company really understands what the product is, what they're selling, and what they're working on. Transparency is incredibly important. As we all know, from parents to romantic relationships, no relationship is perfect all of the time. So it's really important to build a trusting relationship, and that means that when issues do arise, if something does go wrong, both parties should feel really comfortable speaking to one another about that. I just had a situation where a colleague told me that one of her societies just completely lost all of their editorial office funding. They just didn't have it anymore, and it wasn't provided by the publisher. And she, understandably got a little nervous, and the society said, "But don't worry about it. We're taking care of it. Just wanted to let you know it was going on." And that's it. And so it's a nice, productive dialogue, and they can continue to discuss that in the future. But had that been a relationship that was purely about the numbers or purely business relationship, maybe that wouldn't have been such a smooth conversation. Communication, obviously, I think communication is incredibly important in any relationship. And communication, I think, can be informal or it can be formal. And I'll move a little bit into the strategic collaboration as an example of more formal communication avenues. So it's, like I said, I think alignment of the two industries or the two parties is really important. When societies and publishers work together to advance the their journals, they're creating stronger product. So that's to the publisher's advantage, because they're creating a stronger portfolio for the sales team to sell, right? So you're bringing money into your company, which is hopefully going back into our pockets in a way. So it's advantageous to us. But by creating stronger journals, we're also putting money back in, or putting more scholarship back into the academic community, which is advantageous to the society. And because they're getting more money, they're generating more research. So it's really important to have strong strategic collaboration. And at OUP, this comes in the form of many meetings, surprisingly, but regular catch-up meetings with our partners, like strategic planning meetings, editorial board meetings, regular meetings amongst editors, production editors, marketing managers, to make sure everyone's on the same page about what they want out of the relationship, and working together to set short and long-term goals for the journals and working together to achieve them. So those are just a couple of observations that I had about the acquisitions process, and I'm happy to field discussions or questions later. Thank you.